Hi.
Oh.
What are you doing?
I'm scraping the ice and snow away. It's getting
Uh,
warm. If you move it
uh,
around, Alexis, if you move it around, it melts faster.
oh. Is there any food to eat?
Sure there is.
Can I put that thing in the microwave? This?
Sure. That's why I left it there for you.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the
I made it for
microwave.
you last night, but just put it in there.
I'm gonna put it in the microwave.
And put it in the microwave. Yep. So I watched your video, your morning video. That was nice. You're happy. Sounded good. Yeah. There you go. Stick that there. I don't know.
How are you?
I'm good. Nice sleep.
Did you just wake up and you went outside and shoveled the snow?
Little exercise. Does you good.
I didn't see when you woke up. Did you know it was filming when you walked past the camera?
No, didn't even know you were there. That's why you startled me.
I'm sorry.
You startled me.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Did you take the plate from the cat and throw the cat food on the ground?
No, you put a clear plastic plate, so it was not defined, and so as I stepped over, you left the light on, and that's an expensive.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Didn't see it, and so I stepped on it, and that's what happened.
Oh,
You know, my eyes, I look, gang, look perfect, but I barely can see. I really can't hear out of this ear, and my legs are mush. So this is all just the will of your Sensei Alba.
God.
You know? Well, you know what God says. God helps those who help themselves. So that's why I was out there breaking the ice. Because you break it up, it's now above freezing. And so if you break it up, it'll go away way quicker. If you just leave it there, it'll still be there for weeks. And then it'll get cold again, and then it'll turn back to ice.
When you shovel the snow.
Yeah, so I don't see, the thing is, you don't have to kill yourself. You do a little bit, you rest. You do a little bit, you rest. A little bit, you rest. And then it gets done. But if you go, and I can't do it! Then it doesn't get done. It's like washing dishes. You know, you do a little bit, you kind of keep up with it, and
I guess the next step is,
what's the next step?
the next thing is to
Yes?
learn how to continue working when you thought you lose it and you can't do it anymore, and be able to hold that in or not react in that way, and then keep working.
Well,
in our family, we work really hard.
well, see, but the thing is to complete the job, and if you work yourself to the point you can't complete the job, then it's like a big deal. You work with a lot.
That's your thing.
Yeah, I do a little
You
bit.
thought you didn't have to complete the job.
No, I do complete the job. That's my thing.
You do?
Yeah, but I just do it in little bits instead of really wearing myself out. And the thing is, I'm not a young guy like you. See, here's orange, vitamin C. Fruit is one of the best things to continually eat. We are, what would you say, hunter-gatherers. And what they did was they ate all day long, little bits, just eating.
Hunter-gatherers. We're hunter-gatherers.
We're hunter-gatherers, yep. That smells good.
I'm not. I'm a hunter-gatherer. I'll just eat the chicken. I was trying not to eat it because the chicken lived next door.
I don't think I'll hold it against you, John. Tastes good, right?
No, I prefer vegan, but this is just these days I've been eating vegan. Remember when all I wanted to eat was chicken?
Mm.
You didn't like that.
I like it. I like anything. I don't dislike anything.
No.
Want some tea? Let me give you some tea.
Okay. Thanks.
So, do you know Harry Nilsson?
No?
Alexa, play Everyone's Talking About Me by Harry Nilsson.
Oh no. I don't have the rights to it. Alexa,
Here's this.
stop. I can't put it in a video because they have a copyright on it.
But it's so old, it's like, out there in the world. Me and my arrow. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Nielsen was said to have had the best singing voice in his generation. And he was compared Paul of the Beatles. And the Beatles, he was a guy who was really working in a bank, but he was so passionate about music. He kept running and had severe anxiety about performing in front of people, so he couldn't do it. But he was really, really good in the studio. And he had an album, I think it was in '69, called Nielsen Smilsen. And it sold more than anything. It won every friggin' Grammy, and that sealed his fate as an amazing artist. And then he kind of got depressed and did that. But then he came back up and had another second coming and did a great job. And his management embezzled all his money. He went down again. So there's a guy who had to fight depression and anxiety his whole life. I mean, his childhood was, you go to see the neighborhood he broke, up in Red Hook in Brooklyn, it was like, that's where we took over abandoned buildings. And so when we're taking over these abandoned buildings, someone said, oh, that's where Nielsen. It was like all bricked up, burned out, rats. And that's when it was nice. But
No.
he didn't grow up in the suburbs. He didn't grow up. His father left the family, left his mother when he was, a baby. He never really saw his father. And his mother was an alcoholic. But she had amazing strength. She was, had depression and anxiety, and she was an alcoholic, but then she and did her best, and she had no college education or anything, but she took any job.
What was the man's name? Nielsen?
Harry Nielsen.
Did they make the Nielsen ratings after him?
No.
Oh.
Different Nielsen. So that's an amazing story of his, just will, and he thought he was the best of everything, and he was. And he, like I said, I think in '69 he won every Grammy, best album, best producer, best writer, best singer, best, you name it. So, he had the proof, but he wasn't a guy who was an A-lister. He didn't like the crowd. But, the TV, NBC and the BBC wanted him to do a TV show, and he said no. And then they said, well, we'll let you do it any way you want to do it. He said, okay, since everything's on tape anyway, let me go into a studio and create the TV show the way I want it. And then you guys just play it. And he did. So he had no audience, and he had the show where the people he knew would come on the set and crowd around him, and he felt okay because they were his friends, and he performed, and that was the audience. So he was a guy, I talk about navigating. He navigated through everything, and most of his life. He had tremendous peaks and then crash, and then tremendous crash, and so he could have packed it in any old time, but he didn't. And he was married 3 times, and the 3rd time was a charm. He married Una, and they had 6 kids, and he was at least smart enough to put money away for them. So when his his management stole money out of his record company, he didn't have any money, but at least his family did. So it was so that's pretty interesting. I was watching his biography. There's a channel, the TV program Biography. It's on the YouTube. So I was watching biographies, and it kind of tells. When you look at people who were well known at any specific time in history, it gives you a nice feel of whatever that history. I was watching the thing of the DuPont family. Anyway, so. But there are a couple of songs that Harry Nilsson wrote that I thought you would like.
Oh, great.
That's why I was going to play that. But I watched your show this morning. That was a great show. Really, really had a great vibe, positive vibe, And I'm up for whatever you want to do, John. I'm here to help in any way I can. Why do you think when I do YouTube on the phone, it takes so long to go up on the channel? So when I do it on the laptop, it goes up in about an hour. Phone takes days. It goes up there finally, but it takes days.
Maybe film it in higher quality.
You mean the phone is?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe in a 720 HD in a live video, and your laptop maybe in SD.
Well, my phone is pretty old, and I don't think it's HD.
Oh, it must be at least HD.
Really? Even a
camera.
Even a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Nowadays the new phones are 4K.
Yeah, but this ain't
4K.
Oh. Okay.
They've had the iPhone.
They've had HD. Right?
Yeah.
Well, this ain't an iPhone. This is a whatchamacallit, Korean phone. What's that company
It's
called?
gotta be HD.
Okay, then that might be what it is. But it finally goes up there. It just takes days. I think it might have a wider bandwidth.
Is the video still I think, shows up for people who, when it showed in their notifications, you're doing a live video, so they can still watch it.
Well, they do. They come on the chat. The live
Before it's uploaded,
Right.
before it's on your page.
Right.
Whatever it is.
My channel.
I know, but I don't. I've actually worked at this.
Yeah, you do know. You're really good at this stuff. You're one of the better editors I know.
I have 100 million views.
You do.
11 million on my channel.
Then you got whatchamacallit.
I know how to get the videos to get more views, but I don't, you know.
It's got like 100 and.
Something happened the past few years. It's been doing well.
And my live shows, when I end it and they give you the analytics of how many people watched and all that. Like last night, 110 people watched. And then when I looked at it on my phone, it said 86 watched. It's like someone is tapping away on my algorithm. Yes, you butchy. Yes, you are. Kitty. What's this? Just Orange Cat? What's that guy's name?
Sunshine.
Yes. And the black one is.
Sunshine.
What's the black one? There's the Sunshine and then the other cat. What's the other cat? What's his name? Black cat? No? Okay.
You can call them whatever you want to call them.
It's a yo cat. You like this tea? In my arrow, straighter than arrow. In my arrow. Have you left your stovetop heating your space upstairs? Or did you turn that off?
I left it on. But I tested above, I put my hand on it, and it felt like there wasn't much warmth.
Up above?
Touching things that, anything that you catch fire and moved everything out of the way.
Okay, that's good. Because it's not really the best to, because you have a couple big heaters there that do a pretty good job. Do you still, is the fan still there in the top of the roof ceiling?
Yeah.
You know, if you turn that on, it'll push the heat down. It'll warm your place up by 10 degrees. And it has a little barrier.
I like to have another 1 or 2 heat pumps. I only have 1 heat pump and the house is kind of big.
Yeah. But
So
if you
it's
turn
like-
that, it takes less electricity to run that fan. That will heat your space up there by 10 degrees. Because all the heat's going to the ceiling, you know? It stays up there. But it puts fan on.
I know that. I know
it'll
you
push
can turn the fan on here and there.
Right. Yeah. I used to do that. Because I had no heat. You know, all I had was, I would go out in the woods and pick the fallen trees and chop them up and the twigs and stuff. That was my heat. Straighter than narrow. You remember the band, what was it called? Forgot. But they had a song about, going into the Aquarian age. It was quite a fun song because it about every epoch of time and what man was doing in it. What are they called? Fifth dimension. That was it. Fifth dimension. You know, John, people in certain theological understandings, we live in dimensions. You know, we have, you know, our senses, right? And our senses capture a 3D reality, and in reality, our brain still makes it 3D, but what our senses see is 2D. So we kind of live in a 2D reality. But back in the day, when we lived with God in, you know, the Garden of Eden, before man sinned and ate the apple of good and evil, we were 5-dimensional, and that's why we could see God.
Who says that?
The Bible says that.
Where does it say that?
When you read the Old Testament and it describes the garden before man consumed, it talks about it. And it's, you know, it's written in like...
Do you know what Bible verses it is, or somewhere I can look it up?
Yeah.
5 dimensions?
Yeah.
I may bring my laptop down.
Well, why don't you get the Bible? Because the laptop, whenever you read...
How could I find it? I can find the Bible verses.
Well, bring both, because whenever you look...
dimensions.
Whenever, like Wikipedia,
the Bible,
you know...
The Old Testament, you know...
So bring your laptop and the Bible, because I trust the Bible more than Wikipedia.
No, you use a trusted source. You look at the
There
various
is no,
sources,
John, there is
some
no
are trusted.
There's no
You
trust.
can tell, you know it's good, and God and Jesus are...
Well, what's wrong with bringing your Bible? Bring both. Bring your laptop and the Bible.
Can you differentiate between a trusted source and non-trusted source?
No, I don't trust anything on the internet. Period. So,
You get a good feeling that it's a... By
John,
looking at all the...
Exactly. My career, basically.
That's right, you don't go to somebody in the area to give a bunch of money.
Right, no.
I don't know. Never gonna.
Well, go get your laptop, but bring the Bible down. The Bible is a good book. That's the primary source. And the other thing is, whenever you read, you know, I don't believe anything on the internet. Period. Right? And actually, I don't believe anything. And I don't disbelieve anything. See, that's the thing. And so for a good 30 years, I was a itinerant scholar, meaning somebody like Brookings or the CFR or Rockefeller Foundation or John Hopkins, or there's a ton of people who are always looking at everything, right? They want to know every little angle they can, right? Because they are doing the homework for the rich guys, right? And so the rich guys get this like one-page report, and then they can, you know what to go by, right? And then, you know, that's kind of the president gets it. So anyway, I'd be one of those people in the minions, my little niche.
I'm not gonna bring my laptop down.
Okay, no problem.
I want it's.
No problem, John.
Okay.
You know, there's no problem with me. I don't have to prove anything. I just talk. You know, I just kind of tell stories, and don't believe a word I say. You know. Believe a word I say. Anyway, me and my arrow, straighter than arrow. See, I brought John 2 oranges, and did he eat them? No. Straighter than arrow. So today's Wednesday. I think, what is it, the 5th? Could be the 5th. And in the state of New York, the legislature is going to pass a law that allows the state of New York to just pick anyone off the street. It's called rendition. Now, the CIA's been doing it for at least 30 years, where they just pick up somebody, put a bag over their head, throw them in a van, take them to a undisclosed location, and do stuff with them. And New York State has passed this law that says it can do that to anyone in New York State that the state deems a threat to public health. You can be, have all your jabs up to snuff, and still they can take you away. Right? That's very similar to what the Nazis did in 1934 when the Reichstag was burnt down, and they passed the Enabling Act. What that did was it enabled them to do whatever the heck they wanted to do. Very similar to the Patriot Act, right? And so that's what kind of direction. Now, a lot of people say that America has, been there already. It's like when you write a constitution that's only for white, landed, rich men, that women, even their wives, are property, and everybody else is, not just black folk, but even the Irish were the slaves of the North, because the North treated the Irish like cogs in a machine. They worked them till they died. Very similar. I mean, that's where the Nazis got a lot of great ideas from us. In 1939, when the war broke out in Germany, the United States was, neutral. So we sold as much or more to the Nazis as we did to the English. Right? And that was because of Mr. Rothschild, who basically funds both sides of the game. And, after everyone has been, destroyed by the war, he buys everything for a penny on the dollar. So, we had Nazis over here, they wanted helium, they had no helium. And so we gave them 18 zillion cubic feet of helium and all other kinds of, oil, ball bearings, oil derivatives like things to put in high performance aircraft engines like the ME-109 to make them work better. And actually we kept doing that even when we were at war with Germany. Good old Mr. Prescott Bush was doing that all the way through the war, right? Through, he was funneling everything through Mexico and Brazil. And the beauty of pretty much all of this is you can go on YouTube and see all this, and I wouldn't believe don't believe a word I say, and I wouldn't believe anything that's on the internet. But what the internet does well, that is quite an interesting thing, is they give you, the individual, the chance to go down the rabbit hole. Meaning they'll tell you something, and I wouldn't believe it, but it'll give you enough information saying, well, that can't be, and then you go look it up, and man, it was either can't be or, oh my God, that's what happened. So here your good old Uncle Sensei Al Bob is telling you a story that should, interest you, right? Should kind of motivate you, and I'm doing this on John's channel just to see how many of you guys kind of come on and take advantage. I mean, I could go into my laptop and do it, but, John, he constantly, I was shoveling the snow and he stuck up and he nearly, then he gave me a shock. And so, and he always has the camera to capture me getting in a shock, And, I know all this about John, so it doesn't anger me, but, it can be, but he does that all the time, without being shocked. He goes, or ooh, but, he's got a number of sounds he makes, which are like a language. It's like, learning to decipher a code, right? And so, I don't really do it. I have 3 rules of thumb, how I kind of roll my life. And there's the 4th rule, but it is the over-encompassing thing, and that is to, in every day, in every way, take the piece of the earth in co-creation with one love, which is the higher source, the burning bush. And if you read your Bible, you know who the burning bush is, right? And when Moses asked the burning bush what his name was, right? In King James, it says, the burning bush says, I am who I am. But the burning bush didn't say that, because the only person who says that is Popeye, right? And what the burning bush said when Moses said, so what's your name? Who are you? What are you? And because those 3 things are basically the same thing, the burning bush replied, I am a work in progress. And you, meaning all our relations, all the human race, and what's here, is my mirror. I see my reflection in what you do. And I can gauge what I should be doing to do my best. And that's what the burning bush says. And don't believe a word I say. What you need to do is go read the Greek Orthodox Christian Bible in Greek. It's first written in Sumerian. If you go, that's like the best one to read, but I don't know if you read Sumerian. I don't even know if you read Greek, but those 2 are the best. And because it's coming when when Jesus kind of didn't die on the cross, right? Because I don't know, I wasn't there, I didn't see it, and no one who saw it there, it was like, a few hundred people there, and most of his boys, weren't there. They were scared, go, ooh, ooh, when one of, I forgot which sock puppet it was, when they rummed it. So you're one of Jesus' boy? No, I never saw him. I don't know him. You're one of Jesus. I saw him, but no, I don't know that man. I don't know that man. And that was, the guy who started the, Roman Catholic Church there, or at least his demigod diatribe was used. But his real cadre were the women, right? Because in his crew, he had as many women as guys, right? And, go read Mark, right? Mark has, of all those guys who, are quoted in King James, and it's not like he wrote it, and it's not like whoever, whatever you say in the King James, it's like a game of telephone. He's like, the 7 millionth person who heard it from this guy, 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 then tells it to some blind monkey monk who, scribbles it down in the book. Because those monks, the Holy Roman Empire, the Vatican, the Catholic Church, the thing that kicked the ball off on Christianity, didn't allow anybody to learn how to read for 900 years. It was called the Dark Ages. And it was a business move, like to protect their scene, right? And so most of the Christians who had been with Christ, who had really been with Christ, hot-tailed it across the Mediterranean to the Greek islands and hid out there. And that's where the Greek Christian Orthodox Bible comes. So that's, and the story goes that Jesus didn't really die on the cross. And he was taken down and he was nursed by his girls. The boys didn't bury him, the girls did. And the boys didn't find that the rock was pushed back and he was gone. The girls did. So the girls, were the narrator of Jesus' death, right? And to tell everyone that he was dead, like Herod, when the three musketeers came looking for the king, and they went to Herod and said, "Oh, we know, we're scholars, and we know by the stars that a great king is being born, and we followed the star to here, and now you're the king, so we're asking you." And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, but if you find him, bring him to me. I'd like to kneel in front of him." They said, "Okay," but once they left, they said, "We should stay away from that guy." And then Herod put out the word to kill every boy of birth age. And he just didn't say, from Wednesday, everyone who's born in Wednesday. No, he said 8 months before Wednesday and a year after, just kill all the boys, right? So the three musketeers showed up, gave him the frankincense, the gold, and the myrrh, and basically told Joseph, you should hightail it out of here. So that's why, the first 30 years of Jesus' life, you don't hear anything about. He was still the Son of God. He was doing miracles, when he was a little kid. And who Jesus' best friend was from childhood was Judas. So Judas saw him pick up a dead bird and bring it back to life. Meaning, Jesus didn't start doing miracles, okay, I'm 30 years old, I'm going to start doing miracles now. When he was 13, and the family came back for the census, and the crowd was there, and Jesus got lost in the crowd, so they were like, oh, where'd he go? And they found him at the synagogue with the high, holding, rolling rabbis, and he was teaching them. And these guys were calling him rabbi. He's 13 years old, and which is, the time in the Jewish clan that a boy becomes a man. And he showed promise then, So he was, God's son as soon as he was born, Even though he was black, because you have to realize, look where he was born, right? In North Africa, right? Born to a North African woman and a North African father, and he had brothers and sisters. They had a big family. It wasn't just Jesus, And James was the handsome one, the talented one. He was the one that he was a football star and all the girls liked, and Jesus was kind of shy, and it wasn't until Jesus, Jesus was. This doesn't get a lot of play, but John the Baptist, he was the rock star. He was the one doing miracles out there in the hinterlands and going from town to town, speaking of the word and speaking that, the Messiah is coming. He's almost here. It's time for us to step up, to do our best. This is the time. You had your head down for the last 1800 years. It's time to step up, and not with a sword, but with the love in your heart. And Jesus was a follower of John the Baptist. And what was interesting was, so Jesus followed John for a good long time, and was part of the crew, but was a shy and introverted one. But John the Baptist, because he was the dude, So he kind of was looking at Jesus, going, So he said, "Okay, it's time for you to get baptized, and you should read." And see, King James is like the abridged version of what happened. There's lots of theologic text that talks about this, and and then to depend on Wikipedia to tell you, oh please, or really, and like I said, I don't believe anything. I don't disbelieve anything, but I take in the information, and if I can find 10 sources that say the same thing, I still don't believe it, but at least say, okay, I can talk about that. So everything I'm saying here, right, is things that I've read in many, many sources, not just one, not just the Greek Bible. You know, I read the Dead Sea Scrolls. You should read those. Those are the writings of Jesus Christ. You know, what he actually, you know, he was like, do. It's like not a game of telephone, right? It didn't go through the publisher or the census. You know, not census, the censors, right? So you read in these texts of what Jesus went through when he got baptized. It's like he did acid, you know. He took and he was like came out, and God was, you know, God always talked to him, and now God was saying, okay, buddy, you're awake now. You know, you were awake 60% of the time, but now you are 100%. You are plugged in. You are, you know, you are here to do what you came here to do. So let's get going. And that's when he started doing it. And so Jesus was a person who went to John the Baptist. And that's kind of how it worked, you know. People came and became a follower. And you read, you know, after that, you know, Jesus goes out there for 40 days and 40 nights and gets tempted and gets hardened like steel, and then he comes back and he's ready to go. So he steps away from John, and when he comes back from the 40 days, 40 nights, that's when he kneels in front of, and John the Baptist can see, you know, they always had the picture of a glow around Jesus' head. Well, he actually had that, right? And people like John the Baptist, they had it too, but not like, woo, you know, not like everyone saw it. People who were sensitive to it saw it, right? So, you know, that was the picture, you know? So, there we go. Come down a little bit. Do a little side action there. Make it like, look like film noir, you know? I love close-ups, you know? Not for me, cinematographic. I'm a close-up guy. John's a two-shot guy. He likes the big picture, but then you look like a little thing. I mean, he does the close-up on himself, but, you know, he always puts the camera way over there. But here I am, talking to you. Hi, I'm Sensei Albaum. I'm your Dutch uncle, and you can find me on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Albaum, right? And you can write to me at, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And if you want to put anything on my PayPal, which I could surely use, you can do that, and they ask, and it's the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. So there you go. That's my little PSA. Anyway, so back to so he's washing John the Baptist's feet, and John, you know, because he comes out of the desert after 40 days of not eating or drinking anything, and try that. You know, John talks about fasting. No, you don't fast for just like 15 minutes. No, you do it for an extended period, like Ramadan or Lent. Those are a month period of fasting. Now you do eat, but you don't eat during the day, right? And most people don't wake up before the sun rises, so they don't have breakfast. They wake up and they don't eat anything till dinner, right? Till the sun goes down. And it's this both of these things take place in the darker times. I mean, winterish, so the sun isn't up till 9 o'clock. But I don't know if you've noticed the sun, like last night, it was pretty sunny. It wasn't cloudy like it is today, so the sun set around 5 o'clock. Not, when the winter solstice was, it set at 4:15, and then the sky was light for another, half an hour. But it set, went behind those, and it didn't really set. It just went behind that hill there and those trees at 5 o'clock, and there was still the sky was still illuminated. It wasn't black until about 6:20. So that's a really good sign. The spring is on its way, right? Yeah, we had some snow, and yeah, it's cold up there, But that's, maybe it'll snow 1 or 2 more times this week, and then I think it's going to start being spring. And go to 40 degrees at night and maybe 48 degrees during the day and about 35 at night. And if it does that, that's great, Then John and I can go on the road, right? And I'm all for it. I'm all for John. I am 100% John. But being his good friend, it's, I tell him the truth that he needs to hear. And he doesn't like it, he runs away from it. But he's, just in the week that I've been here, his whole story has changed a good deal to more of what, is, there instead of what he wants to be there. And that will give him the purchase to be able to negotiate to settle, meaning get a life. Settling is not giving up. Settling is getting what you want, but not everything you want, right? So we could, have a life with his boys. That would be great. And it would be great for his boys. I mean, they have had their whole life with pretty much, at least the last 4 years and 7 months, they haven't had a father whatsoever, Oh, I've gone there 7 times. No. And the 3 years, so they've been divorced for 10, and pretty much he hasn't been on the marquee for those years. And that's a big, and she, I was watching John's morning live show, and he gave the rundown, and she homeschools the boys, right? And so Rowan looks just like John. I mean, same color hair, same everything, right? Looks just like him. Ivan, I think that's the second boy's name. I just called him I. And these boys I've seen 4 times. When I took John to, when I was here with him, and he was just up here, I'd take him to see his boys. I mean, he could have driven his car. I just kind of drove him there and saying, oh, we're going to go do, he said, oh, can you take me, I need to do this, I need to do that. Sure. And in that, when we finished that, instead of driving straight home, I just kind of drive, oh, well, where are we going? I said, oh, we're just going home. But bingo, we'd be right in front of the house. and what are we doing here? We're going to go see the boys. And every time we went, the first time I went, we drove in my car, and I, left the keys. And I got out of the car, and I'm hobbling. So, I got my walker, and I'm not moving fast. And John was going to get in the driving seat and drive over me and drive away, right, in my car. And I was quick. I mean, I hadn't even closed the door, and he's doing this. So I just kind of leaned in and took the key out of the, what are you doing? I'm taking the key, John. And I hobbled there, I hit the doorbell, and Danica answered the door. And that was her. She stayed in John's father's house forever, right? And never paid rent, never paid electric bill. I mean, that's why she stayed in Roanoke as long as she did. And the place was like a war zone. There were toys everywhere, food everywhere. It was like not the neatest house, And so I knocked on the door, and the kids are running around in the back screaming and yelling. And this is before the little girl showed up. And I said, hey, John's in the car, and he wants to see the kids. Can I come in? And she goes, no. Here's my car keys. Take my car. Take John and the boys. I've had it with them. Take them out. So, I got in her car. She gave me her. She had a nice car. She had an Audi or a nice car, nice SUV, right? Nice, soccer mom SUV. And they had their bicycles and their skateboards and their everything all over the car. And so, put John in the front seat, the boys sat in the back, and I drove down, less than a mile to where there's a park. And they have a nice big baseball field, big hill, place you can ride a bicycle all over the place. And they had 3 bikes, actually. And so, like Rowan's old bike, Rowan's new bike, and Evan's bike. And so, got out, and everyone took out, what's the first thing that everyone took out their cell phone and like was pointing at it, doing selfie. I said, no, everybody, boys, you guys, give me those cameras and put them in my pocket. I said, John, you can do that because it's, creating memories. That's, half of the family is memories. It's sad that most people have terrible memories of their childhood and their adolescence. Mine, I was brought up by unconditional loving grandmother and this unbelievably unconditionally loving community that was Harlem for the first 6 years of my life. And then, I was handed back when my grandma no longer had her apartment there. She went and lived in her nice house in Long Island where my parents lived just on the street from. And so I went there, and then within a few months, I was 7, and my grandma said, well, we're so close to your parents. You should be living with them now. You are strong enough, and I'm always here. I'm only a couple blocks away. So I could walk without, supervision from house to house, no problem. So, I did. Went back to my parents, and they were like a pride of, feral weasels, and it was, my mom, she's a great baker. She's German, bakes like you can't believe. But not, no one's really into baking in my family, except she had 3 different types of cookies that, yes, people love those. And anybody loved those. She baked them all the time. She liked to eat them. But she was mostly just, drinking and smoking cigarettes, right? And thinking. She was a big thinker. That's where I get the big thinking thing from my mom. She has that German rocket scientist brain and the Irish passion. She had a lot, very passionate, wild, crazy lady. Loads of fun. My mom was the belle of the ball, the hostess with the mostest. And so, and she used to have these cocktail parties during, she ran Roosevelt Hospital in New York. I mean, her name wasn't on the thing. There were all these, neophytes, rich people's names up there as the blah, 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 blah. But she had the organizational skills to run it. And Roosevelt was it wasn't just a hospital. It was a nursing school, medical school, research center. I mean, it was bigger in a way than Johns Hopkins. Not Johns Hopkins, it's a gigantic thing. But Roosevelt, and the rich people gave it a lot of money because it was the hospital of the rich people, right? And so they wanted the best doctors, the best nurses, and the cutting edge of medicine, right? So that's why Roosevelt, during her time, was that. So she showed up. She went to nursing school. She was supposed to go to college, but her father died. So she had to, they gave her a stipend to go to nursing school. So she gave that to her family and, hoped her rich aunt would kind of watch out for him, which she kind of did, but was more like a prison guard. And so, she went to nursing school, and she just shot. It usually took 3 years to go through nursing school. She got her RN, and then got this if today you would get a master's degree in administration. She got a degree in doing that, and she took over the nursing thing. And then within 8 months, she took over the nursing school and the nursing thing. And then she took over the hospital, the running, the nurses in the hospital, and then the scheduling, and then everything. And then within 2 years, she was running it, and all the guys let her do it because she didn't need to be in a floodlight. She didn't need the name on the door. She was in control. And even the guys with all the way up top, they like didn't look her in the eye and looked at her like this, and that was my mom. She would crush anyone, right? But she didn't. I mean, that's where I get my dude attitude. She'd walk into any room and she owned it. But she didn't have to, be a Rockefeller, I think, or have total bling on. She always dressed like a queen. I mean, to go brush her teeth, she'd have an evening gown on, and she'd have her hair. She had this beautiful hair. From the day she died, it was down to her butt, and she would comb it and brush it, and had these things, and she would just look like a crown, And to come home from school at 3 in the afternoon, and she's sitting there smoking a cigarette, with a highball in her hand, but she still looked like a queen. It's like, So that was my mom. My dad was Colonel in the Air Force. Did you ever see The Great Santini, that movie, or read the book? That was my dad, but he wasn't that violent. He had a temper, but he would just scream and yell and jump up and down. He was like a cartoon character, but he never hit us. Never, never, never. And my brothers would like, especially my oldest brother, you know, it was like this nice, you know, struggle for my mother's love. And, you know, my dad was somewhat, he was really handsome. He's like, yeah, handsomeness of a real movie star. And he was Italian. And when he grew up, being Italian was like, you know, below being a black person, you know. And, you know, there were all kinds of WAP and, you know, all kinds of, you know, racial slurs. But my father didn't quite have that because he was this handsome guy. All the girls and Freeport, where my dad grew up, was where all the movie stars were. You know, the movie industry grew up in Long Island, you know, and out at these defunct aerodromes where they had the big hangars and they had light, you know, and lots of space. And also vaudeville was in New York City, and so all of those, the first movies were with vaudeville actors, you know, and so because all the entertainment, you know, California hadn't, you know, was still you know, orange grove, right? It wasn't what LA is today, or even close. That didn't happen until the 30s and the 40s. I mean, 20s people, because it was always cold and dreary in the winter, and you know, so I wanted to go someplace where it was sunny all year. So that's why they went to California, the movie guys. But my dad, in the early, you know, he was born in '08, and so you know he's high school in the 1920s, and he was such a good football player. Before he went off to college, professional football was like what, you know, professional wrestling was in the 40s or 50s, right? I mean, it was entertainment. No one took it serious. It wasn't like baseball, and but people got to love it, right? So when my father was still in high school, he played for the New York Giants, and he graduated high school and went to college, like right at the Depression. And first he went to Manhattanville because he got a football scholarship. And he played for the senior year of his high school. He played for, and they paid him $5 a game in '29 when people still had money, and that was good. And he played for the New York Giants, and he was a star, you know, because all these other guys were drunks and overweight. My father was like, you know, in tip-top, amazing shape, right? And so when he went to Manhattanville, he played football for them, and you know, in the afternoon, or you know, on whatever day they played, and then when you know the Giants played, he played for them, and then the Depression happened, and they still paid him the $5, right? And that was more money than half. You know, if you had a job, that was more money than people made in a week. So that was my dad. He had this amazing Midas touch when he was a youngster, all the way through the Air Force. The Air Force kind of spoiled him because, so he was a triple, my mom was a triple Capricorn. If you know anything about Capricorns, they rule the world. My dad was a triple Virgo. Know anything about Virgos? They are always right, and they are. It's not just because they're saying they're right, they're actually always right. I had a video production company in New York in the 80s, like from 82 to about 85, 6. And it came out of, I did this TV show on Manhattan Cable called Potato Wolf, and with 9 other producers. And it was, our umbrella was Collaborative Artist Project. So all of us were, you know, the founding fathers of that and mothers, because half the people who started Collab were women, you know. And they were the more innovative, smarter, driven, and team-oriented. The thing about Collab, why it was so successful, still exists today, is that it was definitely team-oriented. And I and at least half of the there was no one, there was no guy there. It's all about me. Look at me. Look at me. We were all team players, right? And our sisters were, that's how we looked at them. And half those guys were married to them, so it was an interesting group of people. And once we got under the skin of the art world and the funding, and once we got our first NEA grant, it showed the strength and validity of what we did. What we did was, our organization was not about us, it was the we in me. And all these kids were coming out of college. We were like 6 to 10 years older than they were. And they all wanted to come to New York and be, get into music, get into theater, get into, visual arts, get into being a painter, get picked up by a big gallery. And that didn't quite happen. And so we supported that. We started 2 galleries, and we had all of these group shows in all kinds of public places. And we did, we had our tent, and we just go to, neighborhoods where there was a street that kind of was a dead end or no one traveled on it, and we block it off and put up our tent and do art shows. And we'd be there for a weekend. And anyway, the guy who really supported us was Mayor John Lindsay. He's the guy who made Soho happen. We went up and said, hey, listen, we're not stealing anything. We pay rent. And your building department and the fire department are just giving such a hard time. So you're mayor, you can make an executive order. We had, I was working for Ralph Nader at Knightburg. So I had all these friends who were really good lawyers. And so they showed all the precedent of why he could do what we asked him to do. So he did, So that was, what happened. And so, and that's what made Soho Soho, right? And with that precedent, we did it to Tribeca, we did it to Boho, we did it to all, all the neighborhoods that we went in and turned into gold. We had the Midas touch. Now, my dad had that when he was younger. And so he graduates, and he went to a lot of different colleges because he was such a good football player. He wanted, this, he wanted that, and, Manhattanville said, nah. And so some other college, oh, good, you can come here. And then he didn't like being in that one. It was too this or too that. And he was really a prima donna of sorts. So anyway, but, he went on, and I think I'm not sure which college he graduated, but he graduated from college in 1933 or 4, at the height of the Depression, and no one could get a job. But he was so good looking and was a football star, and so he got a job with the New York State, and he worked for them as an athletic director at Parks, and he did that, and then he on Christmas he was working at Macy's, and my mom's best friend, Aunt Gracie, they went to nursing school together. They were running Roosevelt together, and then Aunt Gracie got the, and what my mom did during the Depression was, and so she's got no real money. She got this big family. They're basically her little stipend that she gave them to go to nursing school had run out, and so she's running the Roosevelt Nursing School, right? Those are her girls, right? And Aunt Gracie and her were doing that. And what they did, so all these rich people, they had grandmas and people who were sick, but they had no liquidity. They had a lot of properties, they had a lot of assets, but they had no liquidity. And so grandma needed a nurse. And so my mom would send over one of those girls to work, for Mr. Astor and to take care of grandma, right? And she'd have somebody there 24/7, was a real nurse, took real good care of them. My mom trained them right. And what my mom got back from that wasn't money. I mean, they would pay the girls, like $1 or $2 for the day, which was like a week's salary for most people. So those girls loved the job. My mom didn't, she wasn't getting $10 and giving them $1 or $2. Those folks would pay the girls, but my mom got was favors. So they had built this thing called Forest Hills just before the Depression. And then the Depression happened and nobody, moved in, right? And Forest Hills has this great idea. Long Island Railroad had electrified itself, so the trains ran like the subways, and there was no smoke ever, no one's burning coal. And so they built this really like right in Queens, like just, there's Manhattan. That it was like the Hamptons, right? It had tennis courts, and it had golf course, and it was like a village, and all the houses were amazing, and they had apartments, tall ones, so they could have the view of the ocean in New York City. And my mom got a amazing, like 18-room apartment with a ballroom, a gigantic dining room, a gigantic kitchen, servants' quarters, just amazing. I saw pictures of the place, amazing place, and that was her apartment. And so what she did was she brought her best friends, Aunt Gracie, Aunt Wen, Aunt Barbara, and then she brought all her brothers and sisters into New York City, right? And because she had all of these favors owed to her, and Aunt Gracie at this time left Roosevelt and took over Macy's, and Mr. Macy had a hospital for all his workers. I mean, one of the things to go work at Macy's was that your whole family would be taken care of, healthcare. And when, the flu pandemic of 1917, which makes what we're going through, I mean, we're not, that was, millions of people died. The first year, 60 million people across the country, not across the country, across the world died. 60 million, right? And the amazing thing about the Spanish flu, it actually came from America. The only reason they call it the Spanish flu is that the only country that wasn't really affected by it was Spain. Because what happened was the flu came, there was this, I don't know what company it was, but it was the first biggest feedlot slaughtering company, and then put all the meat on what they called, they were like, icebox trains, right? And they put them in there and sent it to New York and Philly and DC, everything on the East Coast, everything from Kansas that way, and to California. And that's when Americans started eating meat. And that was, in the early, like 08 it started. And then it became, so they had all these farmers would bring their cows and their pigs there, and they'd fatten them up, and really didn't care. They just let everybody, just fenced them in, and they had close to 1 million pigs within 40 acres fenced, and they were rolling around in their slop, and they just threw the food over there, and the pigs would eat anything. And so, as the war broke out, the meat went to the soldiers there, right? And we weren't in it. Woodrow Wilson's going, we're not getting involved in this war. This ain't our war, blah, blah. And that's why he got elected, right? Because Woodrow Wilson was not a politician. He came from college, from Princeton or Yale or whatever school the Skull and Bones was in. And they made him president. And he said, he ran on, I'm not getting involved in foreign wars. Well, 8 months after he was there, bingo, he's in a foreign war. So, they need meat over there for all the soldiers, right? Protein. And that's when they learned to butcher it and stick it in a can, right? So you wouldn't die from it. Because to try and ship all that meat over a boat, that would take 2 weeks to get there now. So they butchered it, stuck it in a can, heated it up, and that's where Spam and all that shit came from. Real super duper processed food. They had all these pigs there. They had a lot of people working, not taking care of, but servicing the cows and pigs, and then slaughtering them. Right? And then putting them on these not freezers, but something, they were big iced boxes, well insulated, and they'd send it off to the cities, and that worked good enough. But to send it off there, no, they had to like process. And that's where processed food came from, the term. Anyway, so there were all these people working there, and it was like hellish. You know, you should read Sinclair's Lewis. His first Why We Have the FDA. He wrote about that, about the slaughterhouses, right, and just how disgusting and it still is. You know, a little more cleaned up, but still. I used to live next to a slaughterhouse when I lived in in Pennsylvania, and I lived in Germantown, and I worked in Philly, and I would hitchhike. I would walk down my hill from our house, or the main road that went into Philly, which is 20, 30 miles, and I would hitchhike. And this one guy, stopped and wanted to have somebody to drive into town and talk to. And so if I could be on that corner between, 7 and 7:20, he would pick me up. I would go down there, and there was a little store there that, you could get an egg sandwich and a cup of coffee for 30 cents. I mean, literally 30 cents. And I would get my little sandwich and my cup of coffee, and I'd wait, and he'd pick me up. And it was right in front of this big slaughterhouse. So I would be waiting for him any period between 5 minutes and maybe a half hour, right, depending on how he's running. But I always got there earlier so I wouldn't miss him, and waited till he showed up. And he would drive me straight to work. I wouldn't have, he would take me straight to the door. So you can't beat that. So I would experience what the slaughterhouse was, because big building, and then big fence around it, and then this big area in front of the building where the trucks would come in, right? So it's like not a parking lot, but big space, at least 2 acres where trucks would be unloading, trucks would be turning around, trucks would be waiting to turn around and unload. And it was this gigantic gate, which was never closed. Wasn't even a gate there. There might have been one behind the fence, but the thing never closed, right? So trucks were coming and going 24/7, right? So I'd be there, and they would unload. They wouldn't like pull them up to some place because there were so many. They would just unload the animals, and they would put up these kind of fences that would take them into either the building to be straight away killed and then gutted, or they had, over on the side they had a place where the overflow animals could go, right? But they didn't. The trucks, that wasn't, the trucks could turn around and get out, but they couldn't like go there. So they would put up these kind of metal fences that they would, tie together, and then, shush the animals out of the vehicles, out of the trucks, into these pens or straight into, and they would, as soon as they get in the door, this guy had a big pneumatic tank, like he was gonna go scuba diving, and he had this gun. It looked like a gun, or it didn't look like a gun. It was like a stick, right? And he would just put the stick up to the animal's forehead, push a button, and pneumatically, pressure would push this 2-foot stainless steel rod right between the eyes, right through the animal's brains, and the animal would fall over, right? Well, the cows, they had this place where they did this for the cows, where the cows were used to sticking their head in and getting feed, because they grew up in feedlots, right? So they'd see that, and they would go over and stick their head in, look for food, and the guys would just bang, bang, this metal rod would just go in their heads. Boom, 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 the cows would go over. And then guys in forklifts would come around and just spear them with a forklift, not try to get underneath them, because if they did, the animal's still rolling around, and they'd roll over. They would spear them, pick them up, and take them into the plant to be sliced up. And that was a sanitary way. So, and I'm like, eating my sandwich watching this, and John gets upset, he'll eat anything I give him, as long as, like, he was like eating chicken like there was no day. So I bought a bunch of chicken. Then the chickens from the guy down below started coming up here, and I said, oh, chickens, I can't eat chicken, which is, that's sweet. Like I said, he's a sweet, nice guy, so he sees that. But there's no real, well, if you ate chicken most of your life, and now today you can, because it's like, Oh, I'm a vegan today. Oh, and so he, let's see. He buys all this stuff from Kroger's without any rhyme or reason. And this is me cleaning this out, right? And I can't even find it, but he has this like half of a cow in there, right? And half of a pig, And so I pulled one, I cleaned it out because it was like, ugh. So I cleaned the fridge out and cleaned that out, and that's organized compared to what it was. And so cleaned it out, and he had these ribs. It was like Fred Flintstone. They were like that long, this big, the whole side of a pig, right? And he's got 2 more in there. He had 3. So I took one out, and they were like frozen legs. And I put it under hot water for about 40 minutes, got it out, kind of sliced it up, put it in the old pot here, and made a great, great, great pig stew. But once he saw that, he said, oh, well, good, yummy. But he saw all the big ribs. Oh, that was it. He didn't once going to eat that. So anyway, so it's interesting. I don't know if any of you out there have a child that's a picky eater, right? And if you have a child that's a picky eater, there is no rhyme or reason to it, right? So I've been cooking for John for, I probably served him at least 1,800 meals. Made 18 in the last, so I lived with him for 1.5 years, and then was gone for 2.5 years, and then he's been here a week. So a 1.5 years, and this week, probably 18, more probably, but who knows, so. But I'm always here to feed him, like today I fed him. I made this really nice thing for him last night, chicken, El Mexicano, beans and vegetables, He's got rice up there, I just can't find it. I saw he had it, and then I went to look for it again, and it's like, where the heck did that go? So he eats whatever he eats, when he brought down the box of Little Debbie zombie cakes, and we did the zombie apocalypse with Little Debbie cakes. I don't know if he edited that and put that up. I mean, it was hilarious. I hope he edits it and puts it up, because that would be, if you liked me as Elvis, you like me. That's the zombie apocalypse. I was pretending I was, who's that lady? Julia Childs. I was Julia Childs. And I had some ketchup up here, and I did the Dan Aykroyd where I was squirting the ketchup in the blood. It was loads of fun. It was loads of fun.
Hello?
Hey, buddy.
I prefer vegan.
Vegan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got those gross. I thought they were little ribs like Rowan would get. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that.
You didn't realize they were as big as, in Fred Flintstone's, where they put the rib on the side of his stone car and the car goes. They were that big.
Are they still in there? I can't even look at it.
Well, don't look at it.
Oh, because I thought they're gonna. I don't like meat that much. I like vegan stuff. Sometimes
you were gaga for chicken for
sometimes
for a
I'll
year.
eat vegetarian, but I don't even like to eat vegetarian. I like really healthy, lowercase whole foods, real whole foods in its regular whole state as it came from a tree, as it it's a plant. It doesn't have bodily fluids.
Well, I've been doing that. I've been doing it.
It's
he didn't buy any groceries.
plants.
I bought about $10 worth of frozen
some fruits.
So from now on, buddy, everything you get will just be vegetables. Period. Vegetables. How about beans? Beans okay?
See,
beans
the thing
okay?
is, a little pig, a baby pig
John,
a little pig's that this small.
I understand
hey,
that.
He's nice, he's good, and you bring him around the kids and stuff, and they're like, they like him, and he has a cute little tail on the back, and he doesn't,
But the pig in your freezer isn't that big.
Oh,
the pig
gross.
you got in there.
That's gross.
It was, meaning the pig.
That was gross.
The pig that John bought.
Something about those
that
giant
came,
ribs.
yes, that came from a 200-pound pig, not a little baby pig,
And that's gross, because I had a feeling that pig was at one time a little baby pig that was nice. You don't see its private parts and stuff. It has a cute tail, that pig at one time was a little baby pig, whatever color
Just
it
like
was,
us all.
a cute
We were all little
pig.
baby pigs. So
And,
I was leading up to what John is saying. So when I
And then I
was
think it
waiting
got
for
big
the
and they killed
hitchhiker
it. I
guy,
could
when
not
they
eat it.
brought
There's
the
something
pigs
about that pig I
in,
didn't
when they brought the
like.
pigs in, you could
See, I didn't
hear
wanna
them.
eat it.
You could hear the pigs not just squeal. They knew what was coming. The cows just went
I like
doo doo
vegan.
doo doo and got
I
the
like real
got the
vegan
rod in there.
Without the processing.
Well, buddy,
I
I
don't
did
like
right there.
processed.
Right there is the orange. That's vegan. I cut you an orange. That's
something
that's
about
vegan.
it I didn't want to eat it.
Right, that's vegan.
Usually I eat all. I
But
have
from
no,
now on,
I have
no
no
eggs,
prejudice
no
against
eggs,
anything
no beef,
plants. I'll
no
eat
pork,
almost
no
any plant as
chicken.
long as I'm not-
All you're getting
I'm pretty much
is
not allergic.
100% vegetables. That's
Look,
it.
you know why I didn't eat this?
Why didn't you?
Because you were right here going, doing all this weird stuff to yours, and I watched you, and I couldn't eat it.
Okay,
Like
my
you
fault.
Did something,
I'm
you
bad.
Spit it out.
I'm bad. I'm
you
bad.
spit it out and put it right here, but it's not your fault. That's just you were eating your own nice
As-
way.
as you- if-
But
just let's say you have a bad memory and you don't
It's
remember
not
the
your
beginning
fault,
of this.
but
I
you
took
spit it out and I
and I
watched you.
just kind of took the skin off.
No.
And I kind of stuck it.
That's normal. See, normally I would eat right in front of you. All, you know, almost.
then,
all-
because I had
there
no
was something
teeth.
about it. You spit it out right in front of me. And I didn't want to eat it.
I did this because that pulpiness
No, that's good.
I can't eat, right? Because I have no teeth, right? Oh, and put it back in there and jump on it more. Masticate. That's masticate. And that when you masticate comes out of that, my teeth are holding in there, and then you spit it out.
No, why did you
And
spit
then-
it out?
Because otherwise it would fall on the floor, right? Plug back in there.
But why do you sometimes spit food out?
Because, John,
It's the bad food.
no, it's not bad food. I had no teeth. See, I had no teeth. You got it? Got no teeth. So if you don't have these teeth put about 3,800 pounds per square inch, well, gums don't do that. But gumming your food is actually better because you have to masticate it, meaning eat it many times.
Since I was about 12, here's what happened.
What happened? Tell us.
In when I was in about the sixth grade or eighth grade,
Yep.
something like that.
Right?
I watched these things. They call them faces of death.
Oh, faces of death. Here's the
Well,
face.
no,
Here's the face of death.
no. It showed people dying in videos.
Face of death.
It was like America's Funniest Home Videos, but
The
it's
face of death was
But
funny.
it wasn't.
Well, I think
they
I was
weren't
funny
really
right
dying.
there.
It was fake.
It's fake.
I think it was fake. But when it came to the cows being slaughtered,
Oh, yes.
when it came to the cows being
Being
slaughtered,
That was
it was
right, and that's what I saw
horrific.
every day when I went to work.
It was
the
horrific.
cows being slaughtered.
What they
right?
did was they'd have a big giant cow and this big thing like a guillotine. I don't know. And they'd have like it had a giant slicing thing that would cut off its head supposedly, and it would they put the cow's head would be.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Why don't you
okay.
sit down? Why don't you sit down?
The cow's head would be leaning down, and it would cut into its entire head.
John,
But it didn't
I'm
do
gonna
it
be
all the
cooking.
way.
Come on,
It
sit.
didn't do it all the way, and they're
Sit
still
down.
alive. And it cut through
I'm gonna
two-thirds
be
of their
moving
entire
around.
neck.
You stay here.
And,
Sit down.
and they'd start shaking around,
Be-
half dead.
Here.
And it was horrific. And I could not eat beef after I watched how they killed them. I could not eat beef after
There you go.
I watched that.
Have a seat. You know, nice close up. Go on.
I think maybe I'll leave.
No.
This is the Owl Bob video.
No, it isn't. It's your channel.
And I believe in God and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the Bible it says it's okay to eat meat for
Mhm.
human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But different people have different personalities. And I don't, in nature, I
John,
don't
from
like,
now on,
to eat
all
meat.
you get is vegetables. Vegan. Vegetarian. That's what you're getting. No meat. You know, no eggs. Not even cheese.
Yeah, because like that's a
He's
really
getting,
cute
that's
animal
what,
to
see,
get
I
as a
do
pet.
whatever it takes
Oh,
to
shit.
keep my boy healthy and happy.
So those animals, I think you could have them as a pet or something. Like a pig is pretty smart, kind of like a dog.
No, a pig is like a human being. As I was saying,
you like dogs.
when they brought the pigs in, they weren't squealing. You could hear them go, "No, no, I won't go, no." You could hear the pigs say it, and the pigs tried to kill the humans, and so the humans had this.
How could they kill them?
Oh, they
A
did
pig
it.
can't kill a
They
human.
would have like piano wire, and they put it around their necks on these big long sticks and just pull it until the piano wire went into the pig's neck and they were bleeding and they could hardly say, "Ow, ow, ow, ow." And then they would take the pneumatic rod and blow their brains out, and they had, and the pigs, there would be pigs in the back, and the pig's truck would open up the top, and they had a ramp on the side, and the guys could get up there with these electric probes, but instead of just giving them, ooh, it would like knock the pig out of the truck. The guys would be waiting there with the piano wire for the pigs. So yeah, and I worked at that job for about 4 months, but I stayed with that woman for a good 6 months. She was great. And she had a couple kids. She really needed a man in the house who was like not drunk, who, brought home food. And the guys at the Slaughterhouse, saw me there every day. And I talked to them, and I talked to them about what they do. And they said, yeah, it is pretty gruesome. But, when I go home, I think about it, and I take 50 pounds of, pork and beef. And anyway, they started, leaving a box by there, like as a little token. And the guy who gave me the ride, I would give him the box, right? And then they kind of noticed that, so they put 2 or 3 boxes. So the guy would pick me up. He would get, what he'd do when we, come home. He'd keep the boxes in, and it was wintry time when this was going on. I kind of left that neighborhood when spring hit. That was I kind of came there before Halloween and left, June, I think, because my little project, first I was at the facility, and then they started sending me to different places to work on things. And so in June, I was sent, farther than just close to the facility, and so, that's why I left. And, I liked those kids, but they weren't my kids. And they were, when I hung out there, that was my first real thing of, being a dad, being a parental influence, right? Not a dad, a parental influence. And they listened to me because we had fun. Their mother was, she was great, she was beautiful, she was smart, but she was trying to get her PhD, and she had like 5 kids, it was like tough. So that's why she, lassoed me in. And that's what I did. And so they right away took to me, and we had fun. But they already were wild kids, right? And so there's not much I could do. I mean, they could be great around me. They would be obedient around. It's like dogs. I was staying at my friend's house for a month and a half, and her dogs are like just, they're great dogs. They're really sweet. They're really nice, but they do not obey anybody. Well, it was dog school, and the youngest guy, I was there when he was born, and I did the home retrieval. I put him in my pocket. I carried with him all the time. I got him to not poop in the house, and so he's good. All of them are good about that. But other than that, so the month and a half was, they came. I fed them all at the same time. I stayed out there with them while they ate. Then I had my breakfast with them, and I would share mine with them afterwards. And they would sit. I taught them, this was to sit, this was to lie down, this was to stop,
they worked much better for instead of voice commands. They understand hand commands better. So that, and the one voice command was up, and what that meant, wherever they were, they better come up to me, right? Up, just like that in that voice, and they would respond. So that's how I treated those kids, like they were a pack of dogs, because they were, and they were all boys, right? And they loved her, so they weren't mean or disrespectful or rotten or anything, because they loved her, and but they sure didn't listen. You know, they just kind of, they knew what they had to do around her to not be disrespectful, and that's what they did. But other than that, no, they were just a pack of dogs, and I was the alpha dog. I never threatened them, never hurt them, all abreast, right? But that was my first real experience of being a parental, and that's why, that really influenced me to be that, why I have 128 godchildren, because I was in New York City in the worst of the worst neighborhoods and seeing these kids who, like, I knew that they were either going to end up in jail or dead. And so, and I could see that they had real potential. So 128, I kind of grabbed, none of those kids had a place to stay. They didn't have a family. They were just on the street. So, and they were too young really to be in a gang, and but they would be runners for these guys, and that's how they would end up in juvie, right? And then once you get in the system, that's it. And so I grabbed 128 of them, and made them my electrical help, which gave them all a trade. And then I got them jobs, and then they had a chance. And a lot of them, I mean, they all did amazingly well from what they were gonna end up as. And some of them became movie stars and had their own business. I mean, virtually all of them had their own business, right? Whether it was a little teeny business of just them doing stuff, or what I instilled in them, not this work ethic, but this ethic of doing your best at whatever you're doing. And that seemed to work good. And I tried to, I kind of started, that's where I got into that idea when I was in Germantown with this woman. And but anyway, I really, 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 really knew what that was. And then, a few years later, a few years later. Before that, I worked for this guy named Bob Goddard, who owned Pig Light Show and Joshua Light Show. And why he called it Pig Light Show is that he bought a building in the the meat district of New York City, up there near 16th Street on the west side, right near the West Side Highway and West Street. And he bought a building there, and he kept all the lighting equipment and all the shops and everything we did. And really, all you had to do is jump on the West Side Highway and go straight up to the Bronx, get off at the exit after the George Washington Bridge, and there was George and George. There was an industrial area there. So that's another reason he did it, because he worked a lot with those guys. So anyway, I worked for them. So there was the meat district. So but it wasn't as graphic as the place at the end of the road in Germantown, because that was a big industrial. The ones in New York, the animals had already been slaughtered. They'd already been halved. They're wrapped in plastic. They truck there in these freezer trucks, and they put them in big refrigerators up on the hooks, and they just kind of roll them. And these were really good meat. The meat district in New York went to all the restaurants, the fancy schmancy, like Peter Luger's in Brooklyn, and they had their own. They had their own farms, their own cows, their own slaughtering, their own cutting. So that Peter Luger's was like, we want a steak, and they're still open, really, really, really. And they're Dutch German, and that's the last. That whole area of Brooklyn, over Williamsburg, was all Dutch German. And the building I was in, where it had this pyramid on top, that guy was, he had the tallest building. So he could go on the roof with his telescope and look at his boats coming in before anybody knew they were coming in. So yes, so we're going to be cooking. So we're going to have now, we're going to go into the Julia Child's cooking show for John Birmingham. This is the food that I'm going to cook for John Birmingham from now on, right? No more food, but you know, he said he wanted chicken, so we did chicken. He said he wanted to do this, so we did that. But first, maybe, no, we're going to cook. First, what do we start off with, people? We start off with an onion. First, you need a clean workspace. The first thing, right? So we'll do that. Hey, buddy. I'm doing the
low battery on the thing?
Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
Stupid thing.
Does it say low battery?
Yeah, it comes with, and then it.
Well, I don't really look. I don't look at the
film.
sound.
Is it
No,
on? It's filming.
Okay.
It only
You gotta-
filmed the sound.
You want to plug it in? You want to get the charger and plug it in? Okay. So it's only the audio?
No, it's the video. It's a picture. It's got 20% left.
Okay.
But it had to come across the screen on an iPhone and say 20% left to mess up the text or whatever the heck you're doing. That's a stupid, outdated way of telling you your battery's low.
Are people texting on this?
I hope they get rid of that feature.
Are they texting on this? People texting?
I guess. I mean, iPhone's like the best phone, but it's a phone.
Oh, they are texting. Look at that.
And the new phones are pretty good. You know, they film in really high quality. Your phone's pretty good.
Right.
It films at good quality HD. I'm sure it films in 1080 HD.
So that's why it takes so long to render.
But you know, this one films in really good 4K. This one's
The best of the best.
no, it was last year.
How much did that sucker cost?
It's the most expensive one I've gotten yet.
How much was that?
$1,880.
Holy moly.
I don't know why, but I've used it. I've made hundreds of videos already.
Oh, that's good.
It was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I work relentlessly. I've used it to send emails to my kids.
Right.
Constantly making video. You know. So I didn't feel like it was worth the investment to get some new phone. Hi. Those things were so gross. These pieces of meat. Oh. I'm afraid to look at it. Well, this is good. This is what I like to eat. But I'd prefer if it was like really not sprayed with any chemicals at all. But this one's okay. These berries. They have a giant thing of blueberries. You can eat as many, a bunch of them because it can't make you fat. The thing I got that made me fat was carbs and added sugar. The reason why I have more body fat now, carbs and added sugar. I started eating it even though I know that's what causes the body fat.
What are you doing?
This doesn't cause body fat.
Well, that's fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And fasting helps too. It's not easy, you know. Look at me. I can't tell what my arms look like in this body. I could tell when I watched it from up there. It didn't look that great in this. But I'm in good shape, actually.
You're in great shape now. You look great. You look great. You look great.
Watch this. Now it's gonna look like I'm. Oh, but now we'll both look better. Makes you look in better shape. Whoops. Makes you look in better shape to film it from a high angle.
Okay. I would put it back so.
I can't believe your dad was on a professional. He was like
Yeah. When he was in
professional
high
football
school.
player.
When he was in high school and college.
He was a professional football
Right.
player.
I mean, that's what like
That's awesome.
made his career. You know.
What's under this? Okay, I got my cool. This is how you film yourself to look better. A high angle looking down on it, usually. Unless you're like in really amazing shape. Like my kids film
Well, like
themselves
me,
looking
I don't
up
care.
at themselves. And it looks like they have a skinny
Anyway,
head.
it kind of reminds me of Hail! Hail Hydra!
No.
Hail Hydra!
No! I'm gonna put the stove on and make it warmer.
No, John.
I should get another heat pump or two, but it's thousands of dollars.
Oh, what was that? I'm going to start cooking, so I'm going to turn it on.
Oh, I don't need a heat pump. I can get a wall unit in there.
Actually, John, you know, all we have to do to keep this house is all stone and concrete. And downstairs, this is most amazing, most efficient wood stove that Tim, who lived down there for about a month or two, put in, right? And so, don't do the stove.
The warm it up.
No, but it'll smell the house. I mean, this thing needs to be super cleaned out. And if you turn it on,
stuff that's in there.
oh, and there's mice and all kinds of things.
Mice?
Yeah, yeah.
How would they get in there?
What do you mean? There's all kinds of holes in the bottom and the back, and they've been living in there. This is
So you haven't turned it on?
no, because I turned it on once and it just
It smelled.
started. Not gonna do that because I really don't have the cleaning tools to clean that.
What's a hoo-hoo?
Hoo-hoo is your pussy.
No, don't! Oh, no, I don't know.
That's a hoo-hoo. And a penis is a ding-dong.
No.
Didn't you get the memo?
A ding-dong is somebody who has a dog that has...
No, ding-dong is your penis.
No.
No, that is the handbook.
That's that guy down there who has a dog. Ding-dong.
Well, that's
It's
because
ding-dong.
he's calling penis, you know. If you name anybody, you know, do not name your child Ding Dong.
Please don't talk about it. Oh, ding-dongs, hostess.
Yes,
I don't
hostess Ding Dongs are eating. And look at the Ding Dong. Look at the
That's
hostess.
why
It
I
looks
gained
just
weight.
like a penis.
I ate Little Debbie's.
Oh, he ate little Debbie. He ate her out.
Don't say that. Please, just come on, be regular.
I am being
This was a
regular.
good show so far. You know,
Well, you keep feeding me lines, and I just got to take them. You know, we're like
what are you
Abbott and
making?
Costello.
What food are you making?
I'm making you a vegan meal. This is what, you know, is called an onion. And you peel it, and then you chop it up, and you start with the onion because it breaks down in the esters in the onion, then help everything else cook. And I'm going to make John his first meal of the day, and it's going to be totally vegan. Not even pasta, no rice, just vegetables. And we're going to keep doing that until we can get out of here. Right now, we're
I'd like
kind
to
of
know.
snowed in. What?
I don't know.
That's what you said you wanted. You wanted vegan meals. That's what I'm going to make you.
I don't know.
You know, last week you wanted chicken, so I bought a whole bunch of chicken.
I don't know. I'm strong.
And next time
I am strong.
you get something from
My
Kroger's,
son
I
works out one.
have to be in on the ordering because we need to get things like this. Nothing, virtually everything you got except for the fruit was processed food. So now on.
Do you think that's how I was eating?
Well, that's what you bought. Virtually
Well,
everything.
I don't always eat the exact same way.
But I said next time you order from Kroger's, I need to be in on the ordering because we need onions, we need potatoes, we need carrots, we need canned vegetables because certain canned vegetables, carrots, anything that is a root vegetable does great being frozen or put in a can. Onions,
What was Don Quixote about?
oh, tilting at windmills.
Tilting at windmills? What does that mean?
Come on, take a guess.
I don't know.
To go the impossible dream, to be the impossible man, to be the best you can, That's what Don Quixote was about.
You think he was into his ego?
No, he was like back in the day, in the 9th century, which this play took part in, was this thing called courtly love. Do you know what courtly love is, John?
No.
Well, before courtly, basically until 1913, women were property. They were owned like by their father or their husband. They had the value of like, a couch, your dog. Men cherish their dogs more than their wives. Culturally. I mean, there's some men who really love their wives, but culturally, women, they couldn't go to school. It's kind of like America was like the Taliban until 1903, 1913.
But we weren't the Taliban.
Oh, yes, we were. Worse.
We were Christian.
Yeah, but worse. Worse than the Taliban. But we killed 600 million. We killed 600 million human beings.
The women didn't.
The Nazis only killed 6 million. We killed 600 million in the United States. White Christians did that.
Can you imagine getting to be a woman when you never had to work a day in your life?
Oh my
You're
God.
finally free.
Girls, what do you say about this guy?
Because you didn't
Women
have to suffer
at
doing
home,
something that made you want to
women
die.
work harder at home than guys do.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
What? Cooking,
Cleaning,
Cleaning.
taking care of the kid,
being with their spouse or loved one.
and their children. They're
You know,
there
you know,
24/7.
and watching the kids. Wow, that's the most amazing life they could ask for, or in general. And there are exceptions to it. People are different. Some women want to work, and of course, the way it is now is way better than how it was back then when you said women were oppressed. But
They were
think that
property.
as
They
long
were
as I
more
can
than
be
oppressed.
straight, as long as I can be straight and have sex with a woman instead of a man, I'd rather take the role of a woman's work, the work that she did. Cooking, cleaning, watching after the kids.
We never did
And then
it.
I'd work
You
really
don't know what it's
relentlessly
like.
on my own
You've
thing that I
never
wanted
done
to
it.
do too.
You've never done it, John.
Like the videos of film.
Me and my arrow. Straighter than an arrow.
I've had to kind of do all of it. I've had to do all of it. I've had to do all of it. But Danica
me and my arrow.
kind of had to do all of it, but she never had to work at a job that she hated for very long. Maybe a couple of years. She was determined, and I believed in her to really make it work. I believed in her until she finally got there.
Let's see what you guys have been
She
saying.
worked on YouTube,
Let's see.
or she would have been a housewife.
Is there any way to increase the size of the chat, or is that just what it is? Can you make that bigger? Is there any way to make that
I
bigger?
wanted her to be happy like I was happy. I loved her the same as me.
Can you read the chat? Can you read the chat? See what they're saying. Can you start at the top and read, to the bottom each one?
Vom Ong, somebody from Russia,
Right.
I think.
What did they say?
Looks like Russia.
They didn't say anything. That's probably a bot. I usually get rid
Good morning, John. Can you tell Alan blocked? And then I replied, yeah, I will try to unblock those people that guy Matt did when we get together after when we're not filming or doing something else. She said, thanks, your videos are awesome. John, can you tell block from his channel? Come on. You don't have to. If you want to read it,
I can't read it. That's what I'm having you. I can't read it.
Then why are you? What are you checking for?
I just want to see if I can read it while you're reading it. So, but it's
If you
Okay.
want, you can read it. I can't be the person who's pulling Illuminati weird, funny things behind your back. You know, that's not me. If that's what they made you think on your channel, I don't know. If there's one bad seed who's not a seed.
Hey guys,
and he's
the
seed
chat.
that's
Can
for
you,
Jesus and God,
if
he's a
you,
good seed.
if you put them in capital, I can see them. So put them in capitals, you know, and then I can read it. Otherwise, I can't see it, and John won't read it. You know?
I'll read it when you're like overseeing me.
No, I'm just trying to see.
I don't like that.
Well, but you do it to me all the time. I mean, I was.
To what? On your channel?
I mean, no.
I allow
Right
you
here
to
at the
film whatever
beginning.
you
If
want.
you guys go to
As
the
long-
beginning
if I
of
don't
this,
want to be on
if you
camera,
watch the beginning of this, he was standing. I was like raking the snow. You'd think he'd come and help, but no, he was there with the camera doing it, and then he kind of hid in
Let me
the
read.
shadows. He opened the door, and he
I'll
said,
read the comments.
"Oh my
until,
God!"
I'll read them verbatim for what they are.
"Okay, that's all I asked."
John, thank you. Your videos are awesome, and I like it when you. Thank you. Your videos are awesome. I like it when you and Bob do your shows together. They're really funny. Roxanna Hodge said, "VAR Tech."
Right, that's one of the commie Russian bots.
No, Roxanna Hodge.
Oh, what did Roxanne?
But maybe she's this. You're right. Maybe she is. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm reading it verbatim.
Okay.
Al Bob, I'm blocked from your channel. Where's John? Uncle Plopper, where's John? And Anthony H. Hal. Hey Al, St. John. Anthony H.
Right.
Tracy, do you have another YouTube account? I'm blocked. Also have a. Eddie M. I love ribs. Little dead zebras are cool superfood. Eddie M. And he likes steaks, and he likes pork chops, and he likes meat and biscuits or something. Meat. Faces of Death left John shook. You're scared, John. You scared. John, come back. Tracy Bishop, Bo Bobbish. It's frozen. Her name's Bobish. Bobbish.
Bobbish.
Tracy Bobbish.
Yep.
She named herself after Bobbish so she could comment. Because I'm still working on getting his comments up or something.
Well, gang, 90% of everyone who got cut off came
Oh,
back
well,
by having another
strong
shot.
arm. That's it.
Another shot. Okay, thanks, John.
I deserve to look cool.
Anyway.
I don't like that being told what to, like a supervisor telling me what to do.
I ask you, can you please do this while I cook for you, and the secret to cooking is never let it burn. That's the secret to cooking. Never let it burn. So first we start with the old onions. We season them, olive oil.
I didn't even get to look cool. I'm going upstairs. As soon as I start off, we need to work out on my shorts or whatever.
You look great, John.
I'm gonna go.
Okay. See you later. Yeah, get the charger. Da 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 da. See, the thing about John is a Libra, 100%. Any of you guys there know what Libras are like? Libra is all about balance, right? But this is what Libras do. And then they kind of lose it. Libras are the sign that can lose it deeper, darker than any other sign. I mean, people talk about Scorpios. No, Scorpios are great. They're really nice. The thing is, these little guys that people always step on, so they're always ready to throw you under the bus immediately. So, you just, have to realize that. And I've had a lot of Scorpio friends, and after, a year or two, they realize that, wow, most Scorpios lose their friends within 6 months. Well, this guy's still my friend after 2 years. So they realize that, A, I'm being really sensitive to them, so they shouldn't throw me under the bus. Usually takes 2 years. And so I have a number of I have friends that are like this, like Lana, right? She's like this, but I have friends like Lana for 50 years. I mean, lots of them. And I have people all over the world who call, talk to me again. Want to talk to me? Dudeawake42, the Dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail. Want to send something to me on my PayPal because I have no real money. I mean, John probably bought $500 worth of food, but it was all processed food. It wasn't even canned vegetables. It was like, he bought more than 6 cases of this, and a couple cases of this. This I can drink. This I can't touch. This is just seltzer, right? And like zebra cakes and candy bars and but they were like energy bars. But look at what was the energy? Sugar. Not he did buy a lot of fruit, a lot of blueberries, which is great, but he hasn't eaten any. I have, which is fine. I love. What are you saying there? Whoops. Let's see. Again, if you guys could only put it in caps like this person did. I fell asleep. I hate it when it disappears. Watching for you to wake up. Oh, when John was going on and on? Yep. Well, I slept good. I slept from 11 to 11. That was good. It was cold, and I put a blankie over my window because the sun comes right in that window and wakes me up at 5 in the morning. And the blankie, because all the glass here isn't thermopane, it's one pane. And so this place, but it was designed to have the wood stove burning. And once you get that sucker going, it takes 10 logs to keep the whole house because it's all concrete and stone. And once you start heating up that stone mass, it stays, even when the thing isn't cooking, it stays warm. Conversely, once this place gets cold, like the other day, it had been cold for 2 or 3 days. We didn't have the heat on at all. I mean, I had, in my little room, because it's the smallest room in the place, a little space heater, that heats the place great. I put the blankie over the window so it has, insulation somewhat. And, takes very little to keep that one room very comfy, right? But the rest of the house is 8,000 square feet. And it's got these 1930 windows, so it can be a little cold. And, now you could get 3 heat pumps and it still would be cold, right? But if we only just, and I said, oh, let me have a fire, help me, you bring the logs down. I mean, John wants me to, and there's like enough logs over there in the pile to last, So John wants me to carry the logs down here. And he could very easily. My legs don't work too good, right? But he wants me to do that. And then I could heat this whole house. And his electric bill this month will probably be $800 easy, because he's been running the heat pump, nonstop. And he's got his stove on up there. He's got these gigantic electric heaters. I mean, at least, he's got this one big one that's probably 8,000 watts. I mean, it kicks. But all he has to do is turn the fan on the ceiling. I put a fan up there to blow the heat down. It's, the ceiling is 30 feet up there, right? So all the heat goes up there. It's like, anyway. But that is the, that's how John does this, Do. Yes, darling.
Please make the food for yourself. I think you're hungry and would enjoy it.
No, I'm making this for you. This is a vegan meal. I'm making it for you. I got plenty of food to eat. I made all those meals. And this right here might.
Well, you don't have to make it for me then. I didn't feel like eating.
Well,
Why did
I'm
you start
making-
making me food?
Because I've explained this many times. When you cook food, the food I'm cooking right here is not so much for John this second. You cook it, you bring things together, you bring it up to where it starts
So
to.
you can eat it too.
No. Well, I eat it too, but it's meaning when you cook food, it should be served the next day. And so, most people don't do that. It gets the most nutrition. It brings the best out of it, makes it more digestible, so your body gets the most out of it. And so you're gonna plug that thing in?
I'm gonna get a surge protector because I can't find the one that was there.
Okay. So this food I'm just cooking because this will be a nice meal tonight. But if I started, let's say, John gets hungry at 5. If I started cooking at 4:45, this wouldn't really be edible until midnight, and you shouldn't eat anything before you go to bed. So, and I like the way it smells too. So, that's the story. Me and my arrow, straighter than arrow. Yeah. Well, the way you need to shoot is put the light this way, so I'm not in shadows.
Hi.
Why don't you plug it in that plug, run the wire here, and we'll plug it in there. Here you go.
Al's the boss.
No, I'm not the boss. I'm just suggesting.
Of his own world. His world.
Okay.
I don't know what
He's the boss.
I don't know what to do with this.
You're the boss of
No, I'm not. I'm
the
just
iPhone.
Al. I'm just the Dutch uncle.
Hi.
Al Bob.
Bye.
You're not gonna stick with us? But this meal that I'm working on, John, is for tonight, for 6 o'clock. You'll be hungry at 6 o'clock. This won't be ready till at least 5, so don't worry about it.
I could, you know what I could do?
What can you do?
Or you're gonna sit there next to the phone, talk to
No,
it
I'm
here?
cooking. I'm cooking.
You want me to film what you're cooking? Like here, set it up here? You can just do the cooking, I'll do the camera.
Whatever you want, but it's your camera.
Okay.
You put it wherever you want.
Okay.
It's just, my little photographic, the light is here, and then it shines on you there, so you put the camera behind the light.
How about we put it
No.
up here looking down?
No, John. It's,
Can you get the cooking?
no, anyway, you can't stick a pic because it doesn't fit. But
Yeah,
you,
I can figure it out.
okay, it's your camera, it's your house. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want. Pretty much, I'm just suggesting things.
God and Jesus. Amen. God and Jesus in heaven and on earth. Amen. God and Jesus in heaven and on earth. Gotta get the tripod just right. Don't knock over Jesus' cross. Jesus' cross. It's back here. I am good. And have no fear, 'cause Jesus is here. 'Cause Jesus is here. 'Cause Jesus is here. Amen. Yes, Jesus Christ, He is the best. Besides God, of course, he's better than everyone else and all the rest, but he's good to us. He's really, really good. He's everything good, and he created all good, and that's who he is, and you should be good too. It's true, yay. Amen. Oh, yay. Amen. Jesus is good. He is God sometimes, and it's because he allows his Father in heaven to speak through him to do his Father's will. God and Jesus, you better take those pills, 'cause I ain't drinking garbage. I'm throwing it down the drain. You can trick me with the thoughts in your brain. Amen. I don't. I love God and Jesus. That is one thing I know. I love God and Jesus.
And
the Holy
Tacto. I
Holy
love
Spirit.
Tacto.
The Holy Spirit, you know, tic-tac-toe. I don't know where it went, but there it goes. Amen. God and Jesus, here for us, my friends. And of course, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity, you are near it. Everything's okay with God and Jesus. Amen. I guess I'll go upstairs
You're gonna be here.
and talk like a child. No,
You're gonna be here.
I'm not a child, but in some ways,
You
we
are.
are supposed to be. We are supposed to be
You are.
childlike. But I'm a man. But we're supposed to be childlike to get into the kingdom of heaven.
Innocent.
It's
Innocent.
still a role of a man and a role of a woman is different, but we're supposed to be childlike and innocent, knowing that God is the real Father and has all the answers. God has all the answers for everything, knows everything. We don't know. We're just a regular, flawed, sinning person, but we have to be
Just a
kind of
regular
childlike
schmo.
to get into
Just
heaven.
a regular schmo.
But you know, not like not when it's not appropriate. There are different ways to look at what a child is. A literal child or childlike to enter the kingdom of heaven, knowing that our words are flawed and wrong. We don't know what we're talking about sometimes. And God knows. But when there's a husband, a wife, and their children, of course, when I'm a father, and I know what to tell children right from wrong. They don't know. Literal children don't really know what they're talking about as much because they're children. You know, they don't know any better until they're like. Actually, their brains aren't really fully developed until they're in their 20s, I think.
Actually, children have great wisdom, John.
He
Children
thinks-
have great wisdom.
Well, I'm gonna go. You're gonna cook food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll put this here
Mm-hmm.
or somewhere where it
What?
doesn't get water. The Jesus cross.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus cross. Jesus cross. I don't want to have permanent problems on my face. I am good. This body will be erased. Hope I'm not misunderstood. God and Jesus today, looking strong, not what it's all about, but it makes me happy in my brain. I may be sinful and totally sane, but you're not really totally sane, 110%, or 1% or 100% or 98%, unless you have God and Jesus, because that's reality and that's what everything's really all about. And straying from what things are really all about, God and Jesus and reality as we know it, how we're supposed to act, that's shown to us in the Bible, straying from that and being misled and in the dark as to other made up nonsense rules, you know, and creating the illusion that we're following, that people follow. Well, I try not to create the illusion that I follow the law and be a liar, but that is craziness. Not being living according to God and Jesus. Craziness is not living according to God and Jesus. Craziness is other ways that are more sinful and wrong. But we all sin, so even if we follow God and Jesus our best, We may still mess up a little bit, but we try not to. And it shows us how to be in the Bible if we really understand and do our best.
John,
But
we
we're
do
still
our-
gonna
we
mess
do
up.
our best.
Even Christians
We
mess
do
up.
our
So I think craziness is not. I think craziness is kind of sin, but it's kind of a flaw too. It's just thinking of things the wrong way and not as sinful. You know, it may be a teeny tiny little sin, but just doing things the wrong way. Being crazy does not necessarily mean you're really, really bad. You know, there are crazy people who made it into heaven, and they're sociopathic people. There are sociopathic people who did not make it into heaven, but they had created the illusion of being totally sane. You know, people thought they were totally sane and upstanding in society. God and Jesus, amen. God and Jesus, amen.
God and Jesus, amen.
It sounded like those 1960s TV shows about God and Jesus that we watched. Those are really good. I like those. There's something special about them. You can tell that they're the original ones from the 60s. Like they had this guy reading the Bible, not a Bible. Well, he was a narrator.
He had a special one that God wrote up in heaven with a big crayon? The original one? God's Bible? He read that one?
That was pretty good, right? I'm trying to not even have any calories. You better not think about it. I'm gonna go upstairs.
Okay.
I'm trying to really get in the best shape that I can.
You can. Yes, you can.
Yep. I'm trying to really get in good shape.
Yep.
I don't even know what that looks like.
Yep.
Yo.
Yep.
He said,
Yeah. Oh. What did he say? What did he say?
you know what it looks like. He done
What did he say?
That looks really good.
Yeah. It's gonna be.
I haven't gotten to eat it right when you make it because I didn't want to have the food right when you made it. I was
Yeah, I
trying
told
to
you.
fast.
Food
I was trying to fast to get in shape.
So go
again.
up there and fast and eat
I'm
it
trying to
later
get-
because this ain't gonna be ready till this afternoon, till
Okay.
at least 4 o'clock.
It's filming.
Good. Hi, I'm Julia Childs here at the French kitchen.
You can sit there.
With
And talk to it.
Mahatma here, my friend Mahatma.
No.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Having an animal to eat its body.
No. This
So it's
this
a plant.
this
Plant,
is
it's a
called
plant.
sunflower butter. So it's not an animal. where were we? Yeah, eating animals is kind of what is one of the bases of the war mentality, So, whoops, bit much. So, me and my arrow, straighter than narrow. Do, 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 do. Me and my arrow, straighter than narrow, straighter than narrow.
He's outside raking.
He's outside raking.
for you. Good exercise.
Not work. Has nothing to do with work. It may be a waste of time. How can you rake the entire road? I don't know why he's doing it. I don't know why he's doing it. There's snow on the entire mountain road. If you can't drive on that, then you can. How would you drive on this? What are you doing?
Warm. We rake this. It won't freeze back up, and we'll be able to get down this road.
But it'll freeze on the road, maybe. If and with given that random mentality,
It won't freeze. This the tires.
it may not freeze at all. None of it may freeze at all.
No, if it rains tomorrow, it's not.
Maybe you wanted to do exercise.
And so if it
Well,
rains, this will all be gone. But if it
No.
snows, not so much.
Whatever you think for yourself that you think helps you be better.
You see, you just do a little bit of it, and before you know, everything's been taken care of. You don't have to work. So that was all of 5 minutes, right? And I strategically,
Can you drive in the road in the snow?
no.
No.
So strategically, I did this so it will all wash away. Because the sun will hit that thing and melt all the other stuff. See, if you understand the physics, you can create a strategy which will be fortuitous to bring out a positive outcome. Then I'll go back to potatoes.
I felt full when I showed myself in this video.
Okay.
I didn't feel my best looking, but that's okay.
I think you look
But
great.
I hadn't had any food.
You look
But
great.
it was just the way I felt.
You look great.
Some of it I did.
You look great.
Yeah.
You look great.
What are you doing?
I am
An apple?
doing just exactly what it
Are you gonna
looks
put
like.
an apple in it?
No, this is called a potato.
Oh.
But if I had an apple, I'd put it in because apple would taste good in there. Would sweeten it up a tad.
Well. Anything else you want to talk about? Or you want to we can stop the video and do another video later?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Bye. Remember, go to Dreamy Dreamland on YouTube. Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail.
And check out more videos on my page if you want. You know what it's about. You can see. Okay, bye.